Good morning and welcome to another wonderful day. It is Monday, and of course, it's that time that a lot of people wait for. This is the time we will bring you to speed with the headlines for the day. My name is Ramsey Enoch, and of course, I have Antonia Nwokolo this morning.
Good morning, Ramsey.
Good morning, Antonia. How was your weekend?
It was fine.
It's obvious that she rested well.
All right. Good morning, Christopher.
Good morning.
How was your own weekend?
Yeah,
You
fine.
rested well too, I believe.
Oh yeah, I rested well.
All right, we all rested well, and we believe our viewers also rested well. Okay, when you rest well, you begin the week on a very high note. Let's get to the headlines that we have for the day. And the first paper with us this morning is the Punch newspaper. So many stories from the Punch, but we'll take just a few. Tinubu launches a student loan Thursday. Foreign scholars seek inclusion. The details of that you can get on page 10 of the Punch newspaper. Then this one still above the header says that only a foreign borrowing can save Naira. Clear CBN debt. That is coming from IEU. And the details you can get on page 36 of the Punch newspaper. This one says a Naira devaluation fueling massive regional exports. This one is coming from governors. And the details of that you can actually get on page 31 of the Punch newspaper. And that's going to take us to the big story from the Punch, which says schools in 14 states, FCT risk attack, says federal government. I take that again. Okay, schools in 14 states, including FCT risk attack. And that's coming from the federal government. If it's coming from the federal government, then you should know that it is a serious matter. And apart from crying out, what have they done so far? Have they done the needful? I think they said a problem known is half solved. So something should be done about that. Just to write us to that story, the first writer says, Adamawa, Bauchi, Borno, Katsina, FCT, others affected. 465 pupils, women in kidnappers' den. That's the first writer. Then the second writer to that story says the federal government receiving U.S. support to free victims. Presidency alleges sub-regional forces behind kidnappings. I don't know if you get that straight. U.S. is trying to help, okay, in rescuing the victims. Then we are getting to know this morning from the papers that there are some regional forces responsible for this kidnapping, meaning it's not just about Nigerians this time. And the final headline says Ramadan begins today. Sultan seeks prayer against insecurity and hardship. The details of that you can actually get on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. And that's going to be the size of the headlines from the Punch newspaper this morning as we get to the next paper, which is going to be coming from Christopher.
All right, good morning and happy Ramadan to our Muslim brothers and sisters in Nigeria. Okay, from the Daily Times newspaper this morning, how FX market intricacies down petrol importation. You can get that story from page 4 of the Daily Times newspaper. Bank of Industry leaves women-owned businesses with $6.2 million. That story you can find on page 5 of the Daily Times newspaper. No clues yet as bandits hold on to 502 adoptees. I think this is pathetic. This is unfortunate. This is inhuman. This is dehumanizing. This is very uncalled for. The federal government and the service chiefs should by now give us an insight into the move so far to bring back 502 women, children.
That's a lot.
That's a whole lot. That's a whole lot.
This is
In
bad.
fact, I was expecting a release of some of these women and children during the World Women Day. At least they would have done something to mark that day.
All right, moving forward, Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission calls for Court in Governance Costs endorses Orosanye's report. Of course, this is one of the problems with Nigeria. The cost of governance is just too high, and our people, people at the aim of affair of this country, are not even sensitive. They are not prudent. You could see. By the way, why must a Senate president travel from what is it called, from Abuja to Rivers with a presidential plane, when you can actually just join your, I know they will say security for security reason, but I think if in America prime ministers can use bike to go to travel from or move from their house to their offices, time has come for we to cut down costs, because the cost of moving presidential jets from Abuja to Rivers or any part of the country, for me, is too expensive. So I would have preferred that the Senate president, that will also give him an opportunity to also interface with people, dialogue in the plane while traveling. But each time you see as the president will be moving with private presidential 001, the Senate president, those things ought to be cut down now. Check the budget and see how much is marked for the seat of power alone. How much is marked for the seat of power in this country? So we want to call on the federal government, and I think Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission is right on this. They should cut it down. They should cut it down. By the way, they are responsible for the allocation of salaries of what's it called, political leaders, political office holder. So I think it is right time, and I'm also happy that they allowed the call to on the report, the 12 years report of Orosanye. Okay, the big story there is Presidency. Northern senators bicker over alleged 3 trillion budget padding. The issue of padding is reoccurring day in, day out. 6 Senate, 7 Senate, 8 Senate, 9 Senate, 10 Senate. Of course, when you see the leadership of the 10th Senate, what do you expect? And I'm happy, even though you say it is political, it has a political undertone. Of course, if there is anything like that, the presidency is saying no, it is not 3 trillion naira, that it is 1.2 trillion naira. If whether 3 or 1.2, the most important thing there is that somebody padded the budget. So there should be a punishment for whoever padded that budget.
And this is not the first time.
This is not. That's why I say 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Senate.
It has become.
Kept on. We
I don't know.
Every day you see people.
But why should they make something that is not good a norm in the National Assembly? I don't know. These are people that a lot of Nigerians look up to. But then, why padding the budget? Okay, and from the money they I don't want to accuse.
And from the allocation, they just the senator from Bauchi State, I think Bauchi said not or thereabout, said the worst thing is that after padding the budget, it is not even marked for any project.
So what happens?
They just put it
money
there. It means somebody somewhere, some person somewhere,
just take that money and share.
Either 1.2 trillion or 3 trillion. Do you know what a trillion naira is? Do you even know what?
When Nigerians are hungry,
they have projects that they would not execute.
Yes.
Even after padding,
there's
more than enough.
Even the one that has been approved, they won't do it
because there is no supervision. How would they do it when there is no supervision? Nobody is supervising them. Nobody is calling them to account for it. So, well, I don't know. But then the National Assembly should be ashamed of this, because if nothing is done, then it is a soiling.
This time around,
the 10th Assembly.
This time around, I am very, very sure that something must be done.
Okay.
Whether it is for the interest of Nigeria or for the interest of some persons from the north, the most important thing is that I want somebody's heads to roll in this particular party. You know why? This we are having it rough. We are having it bad. The economic is just down, and then some persons are just inhuman.
Very, very
going this route to
I don't know where they want to go to with all this money. I don't know. I don't know. But then,
Ramadan begins today. Makinde calls for more prayers. It is not about more prayers. It's all about sincerity of heart. Sincerity of heart. I'm not saying we should not pray. Of course, we should pray for this kind of atrocities allegedly being committed by the 10th Assembly by padding budget. But St. Augustine will tell you, God who created you without your knowledge will not save you without your contribution or without your own impact. Meaning that as we pray, we must also call our leaders, we must hold our leaders responsible for whatever they do that we know it is against the Constitution. They said, ora pro labore, or ora et labore, pray and walk. Let us not end it at prayer. We should also add some actions. After they say walk without action, faith without work is dead. That'll be the size of the newspaper review on the Daily Times this morning. Over to you, Antonia.
Thank you, Christopher. On the Guardian newspaper, estimators peg exchange rates at 1,400 naira to a dollar as naira finds fair value. That's the big story on the Guardian newspaper, and the details of that is on page 6. Underneath the headline, there's a description that has a chart that has the naira value measurement and also different variables like Goldman Sachs, liquidated entity, going concern, purchasing power, parity, just showing us how the naira to dollar measurement as of now. The next headline will be taken, Federal Government Lawmakers Fault Budget Padding Claim. Horiwa urges probe. The details of that story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. The next headline we'll be looking at, Governors unveil proactive steps to address food crisis. The details of that story is on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And finally, on the Guardian newspaper, SARP asks NCC to restore blocked phone lines. And the details of that story is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. That will be the size of the headlines from the Guardian newspaper.
What kind of a call is that? Some people will just be there for personal interest. They will be. Why would they unblock SIM that has already been banned? Why there are reasons why NCC took that action.
I think,
and then you want them to do what? Let people go back and do the proper thing. The right thing ought to be done.
We talked about that, I think, on this program.
Yes.
And there were some scenarios, and some concerned citizens came out to say, well, it's beyond just barring people's lines, because they've not seen anything. One of the reasons why some lines were being barred is because they are not being linked
with the NIN.
With the NIN, BVN and all that.
BVN is for the bank.
BVN is for the bank.
It's for the bank, yes. That's bank verification number. Then, as a matter of fact, some concerned Nigerians, like I was saying, said, well, security situation is still on the rise. And these people make calls. Their lines are being linked and they are not being tracked. Why just bother people who are doing legitimate businesses with their lines? Why just barring them? I think the federal government, especially NCC, will have so much to do about that. All right, let's get to the next paper, which is going to be the Daily Trust and the last for today's review. And above the header, I have this headline, which says, 2 months after EFCC Presidency silent over Betta Edu, NSIPA bars. The second headline says the federal government denies a budget padding, false Ningi's allegations. Well, come out and defend that. right? Because this is not the first time we're hearing about pardon. If you said it's a lie, if you said nothing like that has been done, bring it to the open. We have people who can look at this budget and know whether or not
Ningi didn't accuse the Senate President on the floor of the House. He actually confronted him in his residence. He was not alone. He told him that 3 trillion naira is padded into the budget, and that you are aware. And the Senate President, according to the story, told him that he is not aware of that allegation.
And he's the Senate President.
And he's the Senate President. Well, when you're supposed to go one of the responsibility
so many irregularities.
Since from the first day he came into office as the Senate President, there have been a lot of irregularities.
He is too aware. If the Senate President is too aware,
the same person that said send something. After a few times, he said it's prayer. What sort of prayer is that?
He's too aware that Nigerians are
inconsistent.
Yes, no.
That's what's the problem.
No, it's not. See,
he's trying to play on our intelligence.
The Senate President is too aware that Nigerians can only make noise; they can't do anything. So, you see, there is
at the end of the day, they will tell you.
I term that as political logorrhea. When you talk excessively, without even paying attention or having a introspection over what you say. The Senate President is too, sorry to use this, he's too vulgar with his words. He's not careful. He doesn't even care. He feels he can say anything and then get look at what
Nigerians are wiser.
If they are wise, he's aware. That's what I'm saying. He's aware that you can only talk, but you can't do him anything.
And that's the kind of country.
Unfortunately, because whenever we have good president, we have a bad Senate President. And whenever we have a bad Senate President, we have good president.
Unfortunately, the president and unfortunately, the president somehow have hand in the installation of the Senate President. So it's just like birds of the same feather.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons why the president played the role to bring Akpabio on as Senate President is because he is a Muslim. He is the president. The vice president, Shetima, is a Muslim. And then the North wanted to have Senate President. But if they not had brought push forth a northern Christian, maybe he would have even pushed Akpabio aside. But all those that came to contest with this position with the Senate President are all Muslims. That was the reason why he stood, so that Nigeria will not think that there is.
But as it is, that decision is not helping matters. But it's so good that we have a Christian there. But then, Akpabio, I think your Excellency, you need to represent the Christendom.
He's too aware. The Senate President is too aware that. In fact, he is a definition of bad politician in this country. He is not representing the image of a good politician in this country.
We have to look at. So
he is as a number 3 person in this country. As a number 3 person in this country, he should lead by example. Last week on this same program, the Senate President told the world that 30 billion naira or about 30 billion naira was given to each state. Have you forgotten that story? And then state government. And at the end of it, 2 days later, he came back and apologized.
Can you imagine
be doing that?
Please, let's don't talk about Akpabio. Our time is up. Let's don't talk about him, because if we want to talk about Akpabio today, he's going to take the whole time, because so many things piled up against his name. But then I think Nigerians are wiser than some persons think. Well, finally, from the Daily Trust newspaper, I'm going to talk about the big headlines. That's going to be the big story. As a matter of fact, the big story said that parents abducted Kaduna students cry out for help. Parents of abducted Kaduna students cry out for help. They were actually abducted, and we've talked about that before. 3 headlines to that story. We watch bandits shepherd our kids to the bush. That's pathetic. Escapees recounts near-death experience. All right. Then the final writer to that story says, my brother shot dead trying to save his siblings. These are the kind of things that happens when kidnappers are on duty. Well, we pray and we wish these families I don't know. I don't know what to even wish them now.
You can imagine the trauma.
The trauma
they're passing through now.
Mother,
some
father,
person may even
siblings.
have 3 kids. Growing up those days, Army Children's School Yola, my elder sister, myself, my younger sister, all of us attend the same school. I remember in that period there was what you call Metisini. This, I don't know whether it is jihad. It's more of a jihad kind of something where people are being kidnapped, killed, and all that. And so, thank God it was in the heart of the barracks, very close to Catholic Church, the mosques, and all that. Some of us ran into the church, and of course, Army have to come and give us that security until the school bus came and took us to our various homes. So imagine the trauma that the parents will be going through. I can imagine now what was the thought of my mom and my dad when that incident came up.
All the children. Well, I think
so. Imagine some person having 2, 3, 4, 5 kids in that same school. So the children that left you this morning to say, "Mommy and Daddy, see you later. Prepare food for me. We'll come back." No matter the level of poverty in this country, these children deserve to come back to be with their parents and not what they are passing through. And then I ask again, what is the function of the Tucano jet that Nigeria bought between the period that those kids were kidnapped and the time they left? Is it that they came there with what's it called? Trailer? Now, if they came there with trailer, so you mean there was nobody that will even give direction to say this is how they pass Nigeria Army. In Kaduna, we have nav base. We have. Do you know? Let's go ahead, please.
Well, this is going to be the size of this morning's newspaper review. If any of these stories catches your fancy, just get to the vendor, anyone close to you, and pick any of these papers, and you can actually go through the headlines yourself. We will return after this break, then the big story.
Follow us on our social media handles at Oweleke TV. Visit our website at www.oweleketv for a thrilling journey. Oweleke TV, rising star at the fairground.
Welcome back from that break. It is still outnumbered, and now it's time for the big story. The big story is coming from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, where we heard that 2 months after EFCC Presidency silent on Betta Edu and NSIPA bus, talking about Halima this time. Well, as it is, some person on this very particular program, when the issue of Betta Edu came up, the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, and the alleged, until otherwise proven, it is still alleged corruption and diversion of funds, money laundering, and so many other things. It's 2 months now. Nigerians have not heard anything. And someone said on this platform, when that incident actually happened, that maybe what you hear next is that Betta Edu is being given something else to do. All right, on this very platform, we talked about it. And the highest that may happen is just for her not to be reinstalled as the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. 2 months after, we've not heard anything. EFCC is silent. The presidency is silent. And this is one of the reasons why some persons will allege the EFCC that they are tools. Okay, they are one of the tools being used, all right, to pursue people who are not members of a particular maybe group or setting. If you don't belong to them, anything happens, EFCC comes after you. This is Betta Edu. This is very clear. No one is saying, well, Betta Edu should be justified, or maybe should be brought to the public openly and being flogged or being shamed or something. But then there is a way this kind of thing is being handled in every society, especially in a sane society. What should be done? I keep saying it. if it is in a developed country, we've heard people resign their position, okay, resign from their position, and they will tell you, I'm no longer doing this again. If this corruption charge against me is true, after the court and after everything, I'm no longer doing. Some persons, just accusation alone, they will say the people don't like them, and you see them resigning from their position. But in Nigeria, what happens is that, well, since the person is being brought there by some powers that be, what happens is that no matter the situation, they'll flog it here, flog it there, flog it here, and at the end of the day, nothing happens. And what does that do to the society? What does that do to the economy? It encourages other people in government positions, okay, to do something because they feel they are part of certain group, okay, and that nothing will be done. Let's add our voice to the conversation this time. 2 months after, we've not heard anything. Where is Betta Edu as we speak? Where is Halima as we speak? The accusation, this one said this, this one said this, this one said this, this one, I need to move this because this person was coming after this. Things that doesn't hold water, complaints, excuses that doesn't hold water. What is EFCC doing and what have they done? They should make the public know about all these things. So let's add our voice to the conversation. Antonia, as it is right now, Betta Edu is a woman. We just celebrated World Women's Day, and you said so much about the women, and we attested to it. But with these things happening, what do you think? Is it okay for EFCC and Presidency to be silent about this situation? What does it speak to the people and to the international community, and of course to our economy and to other persons who are in positions in this country?
Okay, so first of all, we're not justifying what Betta Edu did, and the EFCC probe was something Nigerians were applauding. Oh yes, let's get to the end of this matter. But now, seeing that it's more like the EFCC is relaxed, the Presidency is relaxed, it's more like there are certain men at the top that are trying to make sure Betta Edu has a soft landing. And it puts Nigeria in bad light, because as much as we have a lot of women that are out there doing amazing things and lifting Nigeria's flag high, making our flag to fly very high, this just paints us badly. And it also shows that our institutions that we have in Nigeria that are set up to checkmate the activities of politicians, of people elected, are not actually doing their work. It doesn't show transparency. It doesn't show accountability. It shows that even the ones that are meant to act as watchdogs are not to be trusted. The EFCC that is supposed to probe the financial crimes and all of that, they are not supposed to be. In fact, they might even be more corrupt in this sense. Because 2 months after, we ought to have started seeing reports. We ought to have started seeing court trials. We ought to have started seeing a lot of things to show that these people are working. But it's just as if the whole matter has been swept under the carpet and never to be looked at again.
All right, it appears as if the whole thing has been swept under the carpet, which is so obvious as it is right now. We are not trying to preempt EFCC. We are not justifying what Betta Edu did. But then let me come to you, Christopher, as it is right now. All right. Remember what happened to Emefiele from the court. Even after the court rulings, you see EFCC dragging him, the correctional center dragging a whole lot. DSS, I beg your pardon. DSS dragging him and a whole lot. But then, why is it that some persons are finding it easier than the other persons? And what does this very singular action portray? Because 2 months after, nothing has been heard. Or I don't know if you heard anything.
Well, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
This is Nigeria. I just told us this morning that Akpabio is too aware that Nigerians can only make noise and nothing will happen. It is like that to some other persons within the corridor of power. By the way, there is hardly no minister that was not recommended or that does not have a godfather in this country. So it is a chain of corruption. While you are looking at Betta Edu as the person who committed that crime, there are some persons that are behind her.
Yes.
There are some persons
Exactly.
that are
You know,
beating the
if
ground.
better go down,
Yes,
a lot of other persons will go down.
By the way, you think Betta Edu is that strong for her to even insinuate that there is an airport in my state? Yes, part of the allegation is that they hired what's it called, taxis to fly to the international airport in Lokoja.
Taxis to fly.
I will know that to travel to international. Thank you for that. To travel to the airport in Lokoja. I'm from Kogise, for goodness sake.
Do you have airport in Lokoja?
Maybe
You are not aware. Spiritual. Oh, is it?
In the air.
Okay.
So what I'm saying in essence is this: that Betta Edu, this case, the EFCC is still stranded because the power that be, some persons at the presidency are part of that corruption. They know very well that once she goes down, remember, 24 hours after she was suspended, she was cited in Aso Rock to see Mr. President. Now, she must have told Mr. President that, see, so Mr. ABCD
was the ones.
The money is with him, and so the president feel, okay, if we let this go and the person who is working within my cabinet member are part of this crime, it means my government will be seen as a corrupt government. That is why you see, I put it to you, in the next 2 months, this topic will still come back. That Betta Edu, EFCC has decided to keep quiet on this case. So it is unfortunate. Now you will see, go to the correctional what's it called? Centers. You will see innocent people. Maybe somebody who stole 10,000 because he was hungry, he is still serving like 1 year jail term. No court hearing, that is not being summoned. And then we're talking about billions of naira being stolen by somebody. We've heard of somebody within the presidency who is collecting money for people to be given an appointment, try to convince Mr. President, until recently when the president told him, do not recommend anybody for me again to any position. So the level of corruption
and they collect money from.
Yes, if you see, there are some things that we
don't have job.
Exactly.
You still collect money from them.
Well, that is all. I want to tell you that the EFCC is stagnated now because the power that be at the presidency have decided to make it to make it look this way. Because if Betta Edu goes down,
a lot of other persons
some heads will
also go down with her. All right. Well, if Betta Edu goes down, a lot of other persons may end up going down with her. But then, during the time of Nuhu Ribadu, EFCC was not like this to an extent. I don't know what the EFCC chairman is doing. If you want to do a thorough job, do it. It's better to have a good name. It's better for Nigerians to hear that this person was asked to leave his or her job because the person tried doing the right thing. Well, this is going to be the size of the big story for this morning. You've heard. The only way you can be part of this conversation from where you are is by subscribing to the YouTube channel Oweleke TV, then turn on the notification button so that every other entertainment or news, information, education, everything, that will come up, you will be the first to be notified if they get on the channel. Thank you very much, Christopher, for coming on this program this
morning. Happy Ramadan.
Thank you, Antonia, for being part of the conversation this morning.
My pleasure.
All right. Happy Ramadan. My pleasure. All right. From me, it is have a fruitful week ahead of you. Bye-bye and have a wonderful day.